Hi, I've just shared this story yesterday which has been shared by a few people. I shared it on my Facebook, and it's a petition asking Waitrose not to drop food and animal welfare standards after Brexit. And basically negotiations on our exit from the EU have begun, and Theresa May is still sticking to her Brexit guns, and that means everything is up for grabs, including dropping strict EU standards on what goes in our food, in the rush to secure trade deals with countries outside of Europe. It's a nightmare scenario. UK Trade Secretary Liam Fox is kicking off trade talks with the USA today and says he's open to putting chlorine-washed chicken and hormone-pumped meat onto our supermarkets' shelves to secure a deal. We know that big supermarkets like Waitrose don't want to see this any more than we do. Endless confusion about standards will only make their jobs harder. Theresa May hard Brexit means we're facing a double whammy of jettisoning EU standards and striking a quick trade deal with the US. This opens the door to cheap imports made under USA factory farm conditions and grown with 82 pesticides banned in EU. Just last week, a new report warned that the government is sleepwalking into a post-Brexit future of insecure, unsafe and increasingly expensive food supplies. Right. You know, and this, I did try to warn people. I really did. I made a couple of videos warning people about all the things that was going to happen. And, you know, in my comments to a very good Facebook friend who shared this post, it really angers me that Brexit voters really didn't give a toss about so many important issues beyond immigration. BBC failed to explain that global corps are at liberty to bring in their own workers from abroad anyway. Right? Go and check it out. And who's running Britain at the moment? Global corporations. Who's providing our services? Global corporations. Who's looking after our children? And now DynCorp, a military global security firm, which I might add with an absolute abominable human rights record and involved in all kinds of abuse from buying and selling women and children. And they've got a base in the UK. They're up for hire by our government, other governments and or other corps, anyone with enough money to pay basically. And I've done a video about DynCorp. Go and have a look at it. Look at DynCorp. It's a military corporation. Why are they in Britain? Up for hire by our government and free to bring in their own workers from abroad. But, you know, we weren't with that, did not even come on the table of questions, did it? No, we're all bothered. We're also worried about impoverished EU immigrants coming into Britain, bringing Muslims in with them as well. Stupid Britain. What, you're not bothered about DynCorp bringing in X amount of employees from where? Employees trained to carry arms and control the public, to keep the peace for whatever government or corporations employing them. Stupid Britain. Also ignored was the loss of businesses and jobs, freedom of movement, our human rights, loss of child protection directives which were due to be implemented by this year, workers' rights, trading and food standards, subsidised EU food, EU big pharma deals providing much cheaper medications to our NHS and environment protections. With pound now at same rate as dollar, post-Brexit, NHS funds for buying pharmaceuticals, mostly from USA as they own most patents, is now halved. Which it is. Post-Brexit, the drop in the pound, bang! NHS funds for buying most of its medications from America now halved, okay, because the dollar is at the same rate as the pound. What could have been bought extra with the strong pound, oh, that's gone. So, you know, no 350 million extra a week for the NHS, is there? Try minus 350 million a week, because don't forget, they can't even benefit now from the subsidised EU deals for medicines that we had with the EU, under the EU. Now we've got to negotiate our own separate deal with these pharmaceuticals, and no, they're not going to give us the subsidies we're getting now, because we're a little country. EU was a big market. It's really disgusting to be now left dependent on USA and severely impoverished nations for food. Talk about cutting off the nose to spite the face. Ignorant xenophobes. God help them when people can't afford to feed their children. A hungry mob is an angry mob. I blame the BBC for allowing the British public to be so duped. And really I do. And BBC, these people at the BBC all need to be arrested. Okay? Because what they've done is absolutely outrageous, because you know, this referendum was dumped on Britain just what, within a couple of months for people to make their minds up about this very important decision. I mean, I'm not a big supporter of Europe. I believe that our entrance into it was actually criminal, because it was done without a referendum, and then after we joined, suddenly, oh, do you want to stay? And people, and the BBC lost no time then in scaremongering people about what would happen if we suddenly decided to leave. But we voted to stay. We've been in it for decades. And then just as Britain was about to get all its rights and we were going to have to fully sign up to EU legislations, oh, suddenly we're out of Britain. And the Tories playing devil's advocate, saying, we want to remain. That was a lie. Of course it was a lie. Anybody with half a brain knew it was a lie. The Tories didn't want to stay in the EU. How could they have ever scrapped our human rights if we'd stayed in the EU? It would have been impossible, because they would have had to leave the EU. So the Tories lied, and they lied knowing full well that if they'd have been supporting Brexit, that would have put a lot of British public off straight away. Learn their political strategies, their political manipulations. Wake up, Britain! Join the rest of the world! What do you think people are fighting for now? In Venezuela, they're having to fight a set of right-wing bastards who want to sell their country to the global corporations so they can snatch all their oil and gas and whatever else they can get their fucking hands on, like they've done to Britain. What do we own in Britain? We've not got our gas, we've not got our BT, we've got fucking nothing. And now they're taking our NHS. Oh, apparently it's going to save us money. Really? What? It's going to save us money? Well, global corporations are going to make huge profits. How many profits? How much profit is being made by privatised British gas? And do you know they are still receiving subsidies? 93 billion a year paid in government subsidies to global corporations. And you're telling me we can't afford our NHS? Oh, we had no money to invest in our nationalised industries and services, did we? Oh no, the banks had no... They didn't have a few million. They didn't have a few million in the 1980s and 70s to lend us to upgrade. Oh, no. We had to sell it all. Oh, but the banks are suddenly failing. Oh, the bank can now lend us 1.27 trillion. £1.27 trillion, that's over £100,000 for every man, woman, child in Britain. They can lend 1.27 trillion to bail out the failing banks. Well, how is it that we have lost everything we have got and we're still in debt? And they want to put that debt on our children, and you people out there, you're just sitting around. You're not talking about it. You're not doing anything about it. You're just same old, same old. And I'm sick to death of it. I can't even spend my time with most people because they're so banal. Britain, you're fucked, okay? This country is fucked. Everything that my granddad fought for, okay, it's gone. It's gone. And you've done that. You people of today have let this happen, okay? And I'm talking mostly now to the professional people of Britain, the so-called educated people. Oh, you're all up there, aren't you? You're the gods of our society, aren't you? Look down on everybody else, you know, they're underlings. Well, where were you, intelligence? Fucking drinking and drugging. Yes, I know, I've walked in all the circles in this society from the bottom to the very fucking top. And I know what you're all up to with your fucking powders. Yeah. You all, it's all hip for you, isn't it, to have your bit of coke at your fucking hoi polloi parties. Poor people are on the council estates. They're the ones that end up in prison, isn't it? You don't care how many people were trafficked or died or children were abused to get your drugs into your little hoi polloi parties, do you? It is outrageous. BBC heads need to roll, because you, BBC, should have been warning the British public. That is what you are there for as a news provider. You were supposed to inform the British public of exactly what they were going to lose, and you did not. Okay, you failed the British public. And you failed our children. And our NHS is not any better off after Brexit. It is actually worse off, and its income is now halved. And yes, I am angry to be told that now I've got to depend on America to provide our food. And who else? Oh, the Commonwealth. Really? What? You mean all those really impoverished people where the people can't even hardly feed themselves? And expect prices to rise so high that you can't even. You'll be living on your bare basics, Britain, by the time they're finished. And I tell you now, as soon as they scrapped our human rights, which is what they're doing, okay, as soon as they've done that, expect the banking and building society bailing. The government legislation has already put it through. I've shared the link over and over again. I'm not going to share it again. Go and check it out. Banking and Building Society bailing UK. Google it and see what it says. And you tell me what that means. Go and look at Greece. People with the 100k savings had 40,000 moved taken off them. And theirs was just the banks. Oh, but building societies have got a bail-in here as well. So what's that going to mean? What does a building society bail-in mean? Where most of the people are actually debtors with a mortgage. What is that going to mean? Are they going to start taking people's houses? Is the house suddenly going to belong to the building society? Or are they going to suddenly own a share of your home? We've got global corporations buying up British homes, floating them. A housing corporation. buying up private British homes. So, what, there's not even any control on our rents, and with this TTIP stuff, you know, the government can't even step in to say put a cap on rents, because then the corporation can take the government to court and sue them for damaging their profits. Honestly, what can I say? I am absolutely devastated. I'm absolutely disgusted. I just cannot believe that the people of Britain were that stupid. You know? And yeah, nobody's going to listen to people like me, because who am I? You know, I'm just somebody that's lives in Britain. I'm just somebody that has real life experience, that has done the research, that is educated, that does understand exactly what is going on in this world. But will anybody listen to me? No, of course they won't, because, you know, I'm not on BBC Newsnight, am I? I haven't got doctorate and PhD after my name. Well, you have ignored and ignored and ignored and ignored Britain, and when it comes to slap you in the face the reality that you voted for, well, it'll be too late to start asking questions then. And that's why I'm saying, get with it now. Wake up out of your sleep and slumber. Start asking questions. Demand to know why the BBC did not inform you. We need to write to the EU, I believe, and demand that we have another referendum, because this one was a total farce. People were lied to, they were not given the full information, and it came at a time in the middle of austerity when everybody's struggling just to live. And a lot of people just did not have time to understand the issues, and that is no way to have a credible election by a so-called civilised country, okay, one of the most powerful leading countries in the world. That was not a proper way to go about asking people to make such an important decision, and to give people only a couple of months to do that in as well. And from a government that was committed to scrapping our human rights, claiming that they wanted to remain. Absolute lie. It is an absolute lie. Okay, that is a lie. The Tories lied. They did not want to remain in Britain, because nobody who wants to scrap our human rights could have wanted to remain in Britain. That's the fact. Okay? The Tories lied. That's perjury. Perjury to pervert the course of justice. To pervert the course of a referendum. The lies that they told about the NHS. To pervert the course of the public's democratic choice. The BBC, ignorant BBC, failing to warn people about what they were about to lose and what the risks were. Perversion of the course of democracy by the BBC, because they failed, and they're taking money off people in this country for providing the news. So it is time to rise up, and we need to stop this Brexit, okay? And all this shit that I've heard from Brexiteers says, oh, we're going to revolt, we're going to riot if we don't have our Brexit. Really, what? You're going to riot so you can lose your jobs, lose your freedom of movement, you lose your human rights, strip our NHS of its funding. All I can say is Britain's gone fucking mad. I would have been quite happy to leave the EU if our country still had all its nationalised industries and services like it did when we joined. But I am not happy to leave the EU to be under total control of global corporations and America.